Hi, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Today we are going to make a looking up technique. I've seen some stamps on the internet recently that do the whole card for you. However, since I'm trying to not buy things and just shop my stash, I was like, how can I do this with stuff that I already have? So I went through my stamps and I found the Lovely as a Tree stamp set from Stampin' Up! And then I found this other little pine tree from, I don't even know where, it's a woodblock stamp that someone gave me. And I decided that for the first card, we're actually going to do two cards today because I wanted to do a daytime one and a nighttime one. So we are using a green ink there, and we are going to stamp eventually onto a blue card panel. However, we're going to see how we're checking the stamp. Since I'm doing this freehand and not with the MISTI, I'm very, very hesitant. So we're going to do what we can. And with every stamping, yes, I am going to check my stamp and make sure it's inked up well because I don't want to mess this up. Like, I'm really concerned that I might mess it up. So we're going to do second generation stamping onto the blue card panel. So basically that means we're going to ink it for the most part. We're going to do it on the white paper and then do it onto the green, or we're going to just lightly stamp it. Some of them are second generation, some of them are not. So we're going to very lightly stamp the stamp onto the blue card panel. I just kind of want it to be, I don't know, just like light trees, not heavy, thick-looking trees, if that makes any sense. And I'm just freely spacing them out, knowing that I am going to put some other, some of those little trees down there at the bottom. And we're trying not to get them all even. We're trying to make it look organic, which I know is probably kind of hard because I'm using the same stamp. The other stamps from Lovely as a Tree, I thought about doing a little stamp surgery and cutting them apart, but none of them were like the right shape, I thought, to mesh with my pine tree because I really liked the way the pine tree looked. So we're definitely, because this little pine tree is a more solid stamp, we're definitely doing second generation stamping there. So because we want those to match the lightness of the other trees. So we're going to stamp and then stamp it on the white paper so the ink is a little bit lighter. And if I didn't mention it before, I think that the ink I'm using, it's a Stampin' Up! Ink. And the only reason I still have those, because I used Stampin' Up! Stuff a long time ago, is because I have re-inkers. So this is where I realized that I wanted like something that looked cloud-like, and I should have done this first. But, hindsight is 20/20, and you do what you can. So we got out the white, I think that's Hero Arts Unicorn White ink, and we're just kind of like, I don't know, not really blending it, just like putting it kind of in between the trees and lightly putting it in the center there, so you kind of like have some dimension to what you're looking at. And yeah, I really don't know what I'm doing. I'm just messing around to try to get a little bit of like light looking, I don't know. Like, I really don't know what this is I'm doing here. But I thought it looked cool, so I kept going. And I definitely think it adds a lot of dimension to it, so it gives it more of that perspective of like laying on the ground underneath the trees and stuff. So yeah, we're just trying to put a little bit of dimension in there over the trees, or in between the trees, I guess, basically, with the white ink. I really do love this Hero Arts Unicorn White ink. It works really well, and I'm very glad I have it. I also have the re-inker, which is like very important. All right, so we're going to switch over and do the second card now. And at the end, you'll be able to see the finished product for both of the cards. So this is going to be our nighttime one. I really have no idea what I'm doing, yet again, because I did zero research besides look at one picture. So we have Distress Oxide. I believe that's Wilted Violet. And then the brown one is Vintage Photo, and the green is Rustic Wilderness. There we go. Cool. Look good. Look at me there, freezing the screen so I can see what it's called. Editing me know what she was doing to some extent, I guess. Thank you for that. All right, so we're going to very messy blend these colors. Yeah, like I said, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just hoping that it turns out cool in the end. So we're going to do some purple, some green. I guess it's kind of supposed to look like, yep, Vintage Photo. There we go. It's kind of supposed to look like just maybe kind of like just like a wilderness night, I guess. I don't really know. But yeah, I really like how this eventually ended up turning out. And if you don't like the way it is, you can either flip the cardstock over and pick different colors, or just keep going with the colors that you want it to end up like, and eventually it will look the way you sort of want it to be. This was definitely one of those things that when I was like, quote unquote, done with it, I had to walk away and be like, okay, I'm done. Give it a break and see what I think. Because I wasn't sure that I loved it. So yeah, so there's the panel. And after I let it dry, we are going to emboss the trees in black embossing powder. So we're very liberally applying the anti-static powder from the Rabbit Hole Designs powder tool. And we're going to use Versamark ink for this. I did wash the stamp off, and that's what I was checking there to make sure it was actually dry. We are doing this very much freehand again, so that it looks organic, because I felt like if I used the MISTI, number one, I'd have to move the stamp a whole bunch because the card panel is not square. And also I just wanted it to like be varying heights and stuff, so that's why I did this. And we're just going to stamp all around. I'm going pretty quickly. Like, yes, this is sped up, but we are going pretty quickly because even though Versamark ink stays stays wet pretty long, I just want to make sure I get it done quickly so it doesn't dry up. And like I said, we are going to use black embossing powder so that it looks like the night sky and looking up from under the trees at night. And yeah, here we go, finishing up all the trees. It's really hard to see on camera, especially where the trees are stamped, but I can see it in real life. And then let's liberally pour over that black embossing powder. And I do use a fan brush to like move away any pieces that are extra if they're in the wrong spot, not on a tree. Fortunately with this design, it wasn't too bad, but kind of where my finger went, I had to like fix that part. All right, so I embossed it. And now here's me trying to do flicking of white. I used some watered down white acrylic paint because that's what I've heard people say they do. And yeah, there's my big boo-boo. Yuck. It looks horrible. And flicking paint is harder than I thought because there's like no paint on there except for that giant stupid blob. But all right, moving on. We are going to use sentiments. We're going to do sentiments now. I am doing a little bit of stamp surgery on this one because it has a heart on it. And even though I'm kind of off camera, you can't see, but I'm cutting the heart off of it because I just wanted the sentiment and not the heart included. So what my thought process was with this one was I wanted to match the colors, and we're going to try to cover up the boo-boo I put in the center of that card with the nighttime looking up trees. So this is what we're doing. We are going to stamp it, and we're going to emboss it. I'm going to emboss it with glow-in-the-dark embossing powder. However, I think this is like the second or third time I've used the glow-in-the-dark embossing powder, and I feel like I should not have started out with dark paper because it made it really hard to see it. I should have started out with white paper. But it is what it is. The sentiment ends up being kind of hard to read, but it looks pretty cool when it glows in the dark. So yeah, we liberally put the embossing tool all over the paper with the anti-static powder, and then we stamp it down with the Versamark ink. And there's my Wow glow-in-the-dark embossing powder. And we are going to we're going to use that glow-in-the-dark embossing powder. Now, what I do with this to make it maybe glow a little better, because the last time I used it, it didn't glow quite so well, is I do this part, I heat it up, I heat it up, and then I stamp it again. I put it back in the corner of the MISTI, and I stamp it again with the Versamark ink. And then I put like a second layer of embossing powder on there. It makes it sort of harder to read. And I don't know if I move the paper a tiny bit or it's just the nature of the embossing powder. I'm not really sure. So it makes it a little harder to read. So I think I had like a series of misfortunate things here. And then I wanted it to match the card, so I decided to go over it with purple, the Wilted Violet ink, to see if I could kind of match it to my card a little bit. And we're going to let it dry, then we're going to fussy cut it out and pop it up on some foam tape over our... And I did wipe off the letters to try to help it show up better with a paper towel. It didn't show up as well as I thought it would when I tried to do the, see the glow-in-the-dark stuff. I'll throw a picture in here at the end so you can see what it looks like glow-in-the-dark with my not so great camera for glow-in-the-dark stuff. But here's the finished products. Let me know what you think. Here's the first one, and here's the second one during the day. And then here's the embossing. See, it's not a very good photo of it, but I thought it turned out pretty cool. Let me know what you think in the comments below. It really helps me when you like and subscribe. Let me know which card was your favorite. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day. Come back soon to see what else we got going on. Thanks. Bye.